I'm going to start this Body and Brew episode with one question. How do I feel when I receive? Welcome to the Body and Brew series. I have with me today some Yuzu and Green Tea. It's a herbal blend with the green tea. We're going to sit and chat about the subtle and simple art of receiving. Receiving can often feel harder than giving in a lot of situations. It's also an indicator for our nervous system sense of safety. When we are able to receive in life, this is directly linked and correlated with the physical body in the sense of our nervous system and how safe we feel in receiving. An example of this personally for me recently was last week. I finally felt settled into my new home in a region of Australia that I've always wanted to live. And I woke up feeling super grateful, super happy about it, ready to receive. And the moment I fully opened up to receiving, the gratitude that I felt just came flooding in. And then within an hour after that, I closed back up because I felt like this thought and feeling inside, this like doomsday feeling or belief, an unconscious belief that life can't be this good. Like I can't be receiving this right now. A lifestyle and all my dreams coming true and starting to form with where I want to be in life. It can't be this easy. It can't be this simple. It can't be this good to just suddenly be there already. And, kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so that's an example of the lack of openness to receiving that I was in. And long story short, I ended up, doing some somatic practices and opened up to the potential of receiving the current life that I'm living fully. And it's still a work in progress. I feel like it's a part of the cycle that I'm going through right now, is working on receiving the lifestyle and the area that I'm living in and the new way of living in terms of home and how that home is developing with my partner and how amazing it feels. So opening up to receiving in that way rather than living in a fear-based nervous system state, worrying when something bad's going to happen or when the other shoe is going to drop. And we can touch on how that comes from a place of like not being enough. Like maybe I don't feel like I'm enough to receive all these wonderful things. That's a big one for a lot of people too. And so a way you can check in for yourself, like I use that example for me, but a way you can check in for yourself is by asking, how do I feel when I receive? Think back to the last moment you received something good, whether it was a compliment or a gift from someone, a wonderful opportunity. Just think back to whatever comes to the forefront of your mind and comes in straight away. Just trust what comes in first. And how did you feel in your body when you received that? Did you feel like you were able to fully receive it? Or did you feel like there was a part of you that resisted it? You received a compliment, for example, but then you deflected an aspect of it by saying, thank you, but I'll minimize it, or justifying why that is. An example is like, oh, you look so beautiful and fit, and have you been working out, or something like that. And then I could respond to it by minimizing and going, oh, thanks, but I'm nowhere near as fit as the next person. That's minimizing the compliments and deflecting an aspect of receiving that compliment, an aspect of the compliment. And so coming back to that question, how do you feel when you receive in the body? When you think back to the last time you received something wonderful, how did you feel in your body? What aspects felt resistant, and what behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, feelings come up when you tune into that resistance? And what aspects of you felt really good receiving and felt safe to receive? And if working on receiving is something you want to go forth and do after listening to this, you can start with simple little micro practices that invite in more receiving, opening up to the opportunities of wonderful things that life can give you, can provide for you, and opening up to accepting opportunities that come your way, or just simply being grateful for where you are right now, even just receiving all the great things in your life at present moment, like my example that I touched on earlier from last week. And if it feels uncomfortable doing little practices, just start receiving within yourself. So I'll go through some of the micro practices and explain what I mean by that afterwards. A simple micro practice when it comes to receiving could be noticing compliments when they come your way and noticing how you feel in that moment, taking time to pause. Even if you have to voice to the person who just gave you a compliment, you just say, oh, wow, give me a moment. Like, thank you, just give me a moment to receive that. And of course, this is contextual to, who the person is, but you can practice receiving compliments in that way. Just give yourself a moment to land, explain that to the person if you feel comfortable to. Practice it with the people you do feel comfortable to do that in the presence of. Another way you can practice receiving is through breath work. When we have breath work, we can receive really intense stimulus in the body, but we can also open up to receiving some really good sensations in the body. And so this is where I was talking about, if it all feels a bit too uncomfortable to start exploring receiving from someone else, we can go inwards, and we can do that through breath or pleasure and touch, receiving pleasure and touch for ourselves, or mirror work, literally saying out loud in the mirror compliments to ourselves. You can also receive through stillness. So another inward practice would just be giving yourself a moment of stillness, receiving that, allowing yourself to feel that you deserve it. And doing all these little micro practices, it can be done so without deflecting, like I mentioned before. So rather than saying, oh, thank you, but, and minimizing, and rather than rejecting someone's compliment or rejecting an opportunity before you've even had a thought to think about it, and whether it's something you feel like you deserve, just take that moment to pause, take that moment to have a micro practice. And this is the thing I love about micro practices, they're so simple that you can integrate it in your day-to-day, or at least in your week to week, and make it a fairly regular practice. And that's where I want to come back to the simple and subtle art of receiving. And you can explore more feminine receptivity practices like receiving in many of the episodes of my Womanhood podcast. So I'll link my podcast in the show notes below if you got something out of this. And I'm going to be receiving this beautiful tea, the flavors, enjoying and receiving all of it. So I'm going to go finish that, and I will see you next time.